भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदात्मानं ददाति सपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सद्दजातं सहगण रघुनाथं नितं तं सजीवं सार्धैतं सर्वदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखानिदांश्च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्री गौरव भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you very much for joining once more. Today we are stepping into our second session, and just a quick recap in terms of where we were last week. We did so. Bhagavad Gita, as you know, has 18 chapters. In the 18 chapters, there are 700 slokas, and this is conversational in nature. That means various, like Arjun mostly have asked various questions, and Krishna, as his mentor, has given those answers, and these are broken down further uh, into certain practices. So, like chapter 1 to 6 is called Karma Yoga, generally overall. That's what we covered last week, and chapter 7 to 12, which we are going to cover today, is like Bhakti Yoga, and then 13 to 18 is Gyan Yoga, which is coming up next week. And so just a quick recap in terms of what did we do in this last week. The chapter 1 to 6 outlines a spiritual journey from mental despair to transcendental clarity, starting with the acronym material suffering. And the second chapter, the acronym was GITA. G stands for Guru, establishes our spiritual identity and the necessity of a Guru. Through Karma Yoga, which is the tree, TREE, and it's a step ladder, one learns the art of sacred action, performing duties without entanglement by recognizing and uh, a mentor as our ultimate friend. And then finally, the Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga, which were the years and easy, the abbreviations, which provide the knowledge and mind control needed to achieve lasting, profound happiness, with the easy way to change our heart. Today, we move on to the next part of this journey, which is from chapter 7. This is Gyan Vigyan Yoga, knowledge of the absolute. And in this chapter, whether it is your next holiday destination, the choice of university for your studies, or the restaurant for the next week's celebration, most things in life require some research. While we may value our gut feeling, we simultaneously utilize our intelligence and exercise discrimination. The same goes for spirituality. It is not simply a sentimental impulse or practice. It requires intelligent research and information gathering. It is an affair of the head as well as the heart. Einstein once stated that religion without philosophy was simply sentiment, and in more accurate situation, uh, downright fanaticism. In chapter 7, which is this chapter entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, Krishna designates certain philosophical truths to install confidence and conviction in the process of bhakti yoga. So, Krishna starts this particular chapter starts with this sloka, uh, which says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Mai Akshakvana Partha Yogam Jnana Mat Ashraye. So here we can see Krishna is instructing Partha, which is Arjun, that by yoga, practicing yoga in full consciousness, the mind can be dovetailed to become doubt free. And then we are we are going to have an acronym here saying that the hearing process, how to dovetail. So there are a few recommended processes to dovetail our mind. One is the hearing process, and in this hearing process, modern thinkers often post a notion of proving everything empirically, rejecting anything which cannot be directly perceived by our senses. While this can seem a logical, objective, and rational approach, it does have inherent limitations. How do you understand those things beyond your immediate perceptions? For example, if you wanted to find out what NDTV was showing tonight, the most obvious approach would be to consult a TV guide. You could subsequently verify by actually watching the programs. In other words, we cannot depend on our sensory experience to provide all the answers. Accepting a higher authority opens up new opportunities to experience the truth directly. Krishna begins this chapter by stressing the absolute necessity of hearing from valid sources to understand the universal realities. This is known as descending path of knowledge. The slokas that cover these hearing instructions are in from 1 to 3 as is showing in the screen. Next part is the E part, which is everywhere. By hearing from authorized mentors, one can acquire profound knowledge of what we don't know. In answer to the common challenge that somebody says, so let's consider Krishna, who is guiding uh, Arjuna here. So people will ask, have you seen Krishna personally? Do you know he is still there, or is just a mythological character? It's a myth. So Krishna actually tells about this in these slokas that I am like a pearl which is hanging, which is strung on a thread. The pearl are perfectly strung, arranged as a necklace, while the thread remains completely invisible. So Krishna, as a mentor, remains completely invisible in that thread. Similarly, God, as we understand, and the abbreviation is, we can generalize as the abbreviation God as generator, G for generator, O for operator, and D for destroyer. The whole universe remains invisible to a immature observer. The extreme sophistication of the creation naturally indicates the presence of higher intelligence. And Krishna further explains here how he is the essence of everything within the creation, like the taste of the water, the light of the sun, and the ability in a person, the skill in a person. In this way, through the eyes of knowledge, one can learn to see Krishna everywhere. A for acceptance, or accept or reject. If Krishna can be perceived everywhere and his existence is so strikingly obvious, why is there still people denying about him? Resisting forceful compliance, Krishna promises that each individual, all of us have free will, like flying our own plane, and decide where to repose our faith. and align our time investments. He describes that four type of people generally come for help to Krishna, and others who are too much preoccupied, who don't take time to think what they are doing in life, they just reject this fact. So it is a very rare soul who actually comes and looks for help from Krishna. In this way, the utter motivation uh, is that the level of spiritual purity that Krishna is mentoring can help us achieve our purpose of life. D stands for the demigods. Basically, it's an acceptance that everything in nature is arranged by some person who have that ability. This acceptance, however, is not enough. One must gain an accurate and precise understanding. If you were to be operated on, you would insist the surgeon be well versed in the details and the intricacies of the process. It is, after all, a matter of life and death. Similarly, to simply believe in Krishna is not good enough. One must understand his nature, his personality. So, Krishna establishes that he is the in charge of universal affairs, and and the the understanding of this he gives to very rare people. So he says in one of the slokas in this chapter, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Mam Prapaddate. After many, many births, somebody actually able to realize. So if you are here today, if you are interested, consider yourself uh, a very intelligent person for your interest in hearing about Krishna and how he can guide you or all of us in our lives. With that, we'll move to the next chapter, which is chapter number 8. Chapter number 8 is about the transition. That means, okay, how can I actually reach out to my mentor or Krishna? So it is a sign of sanity and wisdom if one takes time to contemplate about death. Why death? During special festivals, we see, like in India, especially around the banks of Ganges or holy rivers, there are a lot of sadhus and they have these skulls. Death means it is nevertheless a real situation, whether we accept it or not. And nobody wants to experience, but everyone has to face this. So Bhagavad Gita outlines how such an unavoidable predicament where we take birth, then we grow up, then we dwindle, then some disease happens to us, we get into old age, and ultimately death comes. So Bhagavad Gita gives a view. Krishna tells in chapter 8 that Antakale cha mamekva smaranam mukta kalevaram. With the level of consciousness that we are thinking, we are going to get that type of a body, as well as we are going to either take his help going back and receiving a new body, or if we have other motivations, like we are thinking about that I have unfinished work in this body, then accordingly Krishna will provide a suitable body to do those unfinished work, and it might not be a human birth. So we can see that there is in this chapter that that the acronym which defines is DEAD. Now let us look at what does it stand for. So first D is about doubts. So doubting is a function of intelligence actually, and we have seen that last session as well. We question ourselves, and at no point of time in Bhagavad Gita does Krishna reprimand Arjun for asking so many questions. On the contrary, he encourages Arjun to intelligently contemplate all his answers and subsequently make his own decisions. So this chapter opens with Arjun's doubt and questions on several topics, and Krishna consciously answers some of them. And the final question that Arjun asks, that how can one attain spiritual destination at the time of death? So this question is answered in this particular section, which is the verses 1 to 4. In the verses 5 to 8, we can imagine you are going out to watch a movie and you meet somebody who just saw it. You will never guess what happens, he says or she says. So before they finish that statement, what we interrupt and stop them. After all, knowing the end spoils the whole fun of watching that film. Similarly, for those engaged in worldly pursuits, hearing about, contemplating, and accepting the end, death, is not the most inspiring reflection. It simply spoils their movie of life. For a spiritualist, the end is not depressing, since his concept of life, his purpose is much broader. So, for one who is born, death is certain, and for one who dies, birth is also right around the corner. Krishna explains how a person's thought at death sums up their consciousness aspiration cultivated throughout the life. So that's why our lives are more about art of dying than of art of living. So one state of minds determines our next situation. That is the takeaway, that is the highlight. A, attaining the supreme, we from verses 9 to 22. So the entire world is a dukhalam ashashatam, or temporary university, specially created to give life lessons to all of us so that we learn from our mistakes and we have a chance to correct ourselves. When one becomes frustrated by the pursuits of this world, they realize that happiness lies in another realm. As spiritual beings, life is a complex world of matter in an incompatible situation. While the material world is rubber stamped as a constantly changing place of misery, the spiritual world is distinguished as being eternal and very blissful, full of happiness. There are many painstaking ways in which different spiritualists conduct their lives in order to attain this spiritual destination. And having attained it, one never returns to this temporary realm again. Now, how easily through this process D, or devotion, or 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 bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means the path of active service to Krishna in a seva mode, is described as the topmost spiritual path. to achieve this happiness. Through Bhakti Yoga, anyone can experience an incredibly fulfilling spiritual connection in a very, very short time. In an age of rampant materialism and temptation, coupled with individual weakness and lack of spiritual aspiration, a highly practical and powerful spiritual process is required. So, if one is thus able to saturate their consciousness in Krishna, they will sure be able to attain their spiritual destination, even with all intricacies and difficulties. And and Krishna mentions this in chapter 8 in verse 28. Vedeshu Ganeshu Jnaneshu Tapeshu Cha Eva. So all the Vedas, study of the Vedas, all the Jagyas, all the Tapasyas, whatever we are doing, this is to fulfill the desire of Krishna. This is the process. Next, we move on to chapter 9, which is yeah, which is the Raj Vidya Raj Guhya Yoga. Raj Vidya and Raj Guhya. This is confidential, not to be explained to everyone. So just like a pearl is hidden within a shell, or king travels in this chapter, in this ninth chapter, Krishna outlines the king of all knowledge and the most secret of all secrets. He explains the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the perfection of spiritual practice, the ultimate goal of right. And he mentions in sloka 2 of chapter 9, Rajvidya Rajagoiham Pavitram Im Uta Mam. So, Rajavidya, so this education, this knowledge is Rajaguhyam, but it is it is very secret. But Pavitram, it is the most, why it is secret? Because it is most purest. And it is also transcendental, means it is perfect. So if in this chapter, in these verses, whatever the way Krishna is guiding us, if we follow that Raj Vidya, we can run our lives much more easily. So Krishna talks about giving the Vidya first in the first three verses, where Krishna explains the knowledge he is about to impart is the most confidential, and it illuminates the true position and nature of the soul. There is a notion that belief in God is intellectually immature or philosophically naive. Right? Some people would say, like, why are you wasting 1 hour of your Sunday participating in this kind of a get together? However, logical and rational analysis of the complexity and design, the integrate engineering of the creation by Krishna makes one believe that some consciousness which is highly intelligent is behind it. To categorically deny that uh, this is illogical is actually atheism. So faith is not opposed to knowledge, but it is actually a prerequisite for receiving a knowledge. If I don't trust my teacher, then whatever knowledge that my teacher gives to me, I will be finding it difficult to implement. So this is the first lesson. This is an important lesson that Krishna gives here. And then in the next section, 5 to 8, he talks about the inconceivable relationships. So an idea is conceived within the mind. A child, much like a child, is conceived within the womb of a mother. In other words, a concept is contained within something. Somewhere, since the qualities and characteristics of the Lord are limited, they cannot be contained within any boundaries. And thus, Krishna's activity and relationships are deemed inconceivable. In these verses, Krishna begins to impart knowledge of this relationship with the universe and all living beings. While this knowledge gives an indication of the character, greatness, and the capacity that Krishna has, but it also exposes our ability to comprehend such matters through mundane logic and reason. And uh, and the next section, which is the uh, verses 9 to 22, in this particular section we see that even Krishna explains the opulences of his personal form. Krishna appears in like a human like form. Some deem him as ordinary human being and believe a personal form of God to be elementary. Others believe that Krishna manifests innumerable forms represented by various gods and goddesses, each of whom are worth of worship. Some others cannot even perceive beyond this universe. Therefore, they consider cosmos or Brahmajyoti as the supreme object of worship. All such persons sidestep the worship of Supreme Personality, whom one can see face to face and have a relationship. While some claim that all paths lead to same destination, Krishna here highlights that he awards different results to persons worshipping based on their motivation and understanding of Krishna. And the last part of the verses in this chapter, which is the glories of Bhakti Yoga, it describes Krishna establishes the highest and most complete manifestation of himself. The greater something is, the higher the qualification to achieve it. To get into a good university, we need high grades. To buy a higher, bigger house, we need more funds. Similarly, to approach Krishna in the most intimate personal way, one requires some great qualification, complete purity of consciousness, free from any selfish motivation. Krishna explains that such purity is characterized by constant spiritual absorption with mind, body, and words. Kaya mana vakya, where one enters life a spiritual offering with love and devotion. So, this Krishna consciousness, that is the essential teaching of Bhagavad Gita, is to remember and take help of Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And a very famous sloka uh, which many of you are already aware, Krishna mentions here, Man manama mamad bhakto majjaji mam namaskuru. So Krishna is saying, okay, accept me as your mentor and take my guidance in whatever you do. Tell your prayers, seek for me for help. I will definitely help you. With that, we move on to our next chapter, which is chapter number 8, Vibhuti Yoga. This is the opulences of Krishna. When discussing the subject of spirituality among different people, certain reservations comes up. People complain that they cannot see Krishna doing some work by himself, that he is not there in person before their eyes, and that they have no direct experience. And generally they say, okay, show me God, then only I will believe. So in this chapter, Krishna explains how a spiritualist can simultaneously perceive Krishna as the source of creation, also see creation, see Krishna within that creation, being part of it. When Krishna comes and uh, to Vrindavan and does various pastimes. However, this requires more than an intellectual understanding. He actually calls for a transformation of one's consciousness and revelation within. And that brings us to uh, what is called as the four important Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, for Aham Sarvasya Pravavo Matta Sarvam Pavartate. So Krishna here so declares that Aham Sarvasya Prabhavu. I am the source of everything. Whatever we want, whatever we want, he is the source of everything. Prabhavu. Prabhava means he can, Krishna can generate also. If something is not there today, Krishna has, the word Prabhava means it is not only existing, if it doesn't exist, he can generate it for us. And that is why uh, when we are taking Krishna as a mentor, we should believe that we are seeing him. See, okay, SEE. So in these verses, first 7 verse of this chapter, modern science is founded upon a methodology of ascending knowledge, where uh, one attempts to understand reality in its fullest extent by empirical research and experimentation. Krishna makes a simple but powerful refute approach. He explains how something which has been created cannot understand its source independently. Let me give an example. If one wanted to ascertain the identity of one's uh, parental lineage, the easiest way is to go and uh, take a testimony of the mother, and then such experiments are not required. In such way, all material and spiritual creations in Krishna. We just heard Krishna telling that he is the source of everything. So one who approaches him, when we approach him, we can get scientific insights into those identity and purpose. And that is how. And there are few technical terms in which Krishna now explains that the essence of Gita in these verses 8 to 11, where he says that these 4 verses, like 8 to 11, they contain the spirituality. And in this, there are 3 steps. The first stage or step is called Sambandha, or the knowledge with one's relationship with Krishna and his creation, this material world or the spiritual world, both. The second stage is the practice and application of such knowledge in our own daily life. And technically, this term is called avideya. And the third stage is the mature fruit. After we practice for some time, this avideya step, the knowledge that we received, we practice every day. What comes up? A mature fruit of that practice, which is spiritual consciousness and unbound love for Krishna and all his creations, including all other jivas. This is known as Prayojan Gyan. So, Bhagavad Gita is actually a spiritual, it is not actually, it is a spiritual science, since there is hypothesis, sambandha, then there is, with that hypothesis, we do actually do an experiment. So, we actually apply that and see. So once we actually apply that step called experiment, so that's avidya, and then we observe, and so that's the prayojan part. So these four verses talks about. Then in this particular chapter, the last bit, uh, which is everywhere Krishna's presence. So Arjuna is satisfied by Krishna's explanation, and in these verses, he requests him to elaborate further about Krishna's quality and characteristics. And in response, Krishna describes the most prominent among his limitless, all pervading opulence. By doing this, he explains how one can actually think about him, meditate on him, see him everywhere. It is not that Krishna is physically all the things he mentions, but rather that he is the source of all of this. He is the source of any strength anybody has, any fame anybody has, any wealth anybody has, like that. So Krishna concludes by stating here in this chapter that this simply by glorifying uh, Krishna, or creating a or establishing a connection with Krishna, he is able to support any universe, and and that is where we find the next chapter starts, which is the universal form, universal form of Krishna. So the Sanskrit word of uh, the Sanskrit word of the form, the universal form is rupa, rup. So rupa, rupa, as you can see here. One of the biggest theological debates about among great thinkers has gone on for centuries. The question over whether God is personal has been argued, and Krishna, however, confirms in various passages in this chapter that he manifests in many ways. Because he is complete, so he can manifest impersonally like a Brahmajyoti, or he can come as Laddu Gopalji or Kanha or Krishna himself personally. He also categorically states that the personal is the original form, and from that original form, like sun, so sun has a form, and from that form, a impersonal form comes, which is a ray of light of sun, right? Lay of right, lay of right, ray of light is impersonal in nature, right? It does not have a form, but it is coming from something which has a form. And this is further confirmed in this chapter after Krishna displays um, his Vishwaroop, or the universal roop, universal form, or which is known as Vishwaroop. And he shows himself as the greatest of all personalities. So let us get into the slokas of this Rupa form. Yeah. So R for a request. So Arjuna requests to see the universal form here first. One may ask why he makes such a request, since he can see Krishna and is completely satisfied. In we just heard in the last chapter that Arjun was satisfied. Clearly, Arjun does not have any personal agenda in seeing the universal form, but he requests the vision for other reason. What are those? He wants to prove without doubt Krishna's position as the source of everything. Because in universal form, Krishna showed to Arjuna that everything in this universe is coming from him. It's his creation. So, so for these two reasons, Arjun wanted to see the universal form of Krishna. And what was this universal form? Krishna describes between 5 to 14, chapter 5, sloka 5 to 14, verses 5 to 14. Krishna grants Arjuna's request. Well, Krishna is the source of this universe. He shows that he's simultaneously there in everything, in every sense. He's present in his within his own creation. Like generally, when we are creating something, we cannot be part of that creation. Like we are creating, but we cannot be. Uh, so let me just explain with an example. So let's say I am writing. Huh? Um, in my writing, you can probably understand something about me, whatever I am writing, the effects. Writing, tell us something about the cause. That means I'm writing, so I'm the author. Uh, and in that sense, the cause is present without the effect, right? Similarly, uh, God is the source of universe, but is simultaneously encompassing the whole of universe as a universal form. So God is part of all of us as Paramatma, in within all jivas. So small parts of God, small parts of Krishna is contained in all jivas. So Arjuna then, looking at this Bhivatsa universal roop, he got afraid. So he started praying, P for prayers, uh, begs forgiveness uh, for his. After looking at this universal form, like when you suddenly come to know that okay, somebody is a big shot, when and we are just dealing with them as buddies because we were in the same college or same school, um, and then we kind of not aware, and then later on we realized, like, so that's the kind of shock. So Arjun gets shocked by the universal form of Krishna, and he begs forgiveness that okay, I became too familiar with you. I was considering you as a mentor with power and human being. So, so God is the creator and He's a knower of everything. It often leads to like lacking when somebody looks at such opulences, then the intimacy is lost, the sweetness is lost, right? Like I can give an example. So a judge, when he is in court, even with his if there is a court case where his relatives are appearing, he is a judge there. He cannot treat him like uh, his relatives, be warm with them. But let's say the same relatives come to their home, to the judge's home for some function, festival, then the judge treats them with all intimacy, sweetness, and personal relationship. So similarly, Arjun got anxious after seeing this universal form. So he requested Krishna, okay, everything emanates from you, I understand, but I want to be intimate with you, personally exchanging with you. So come back to, or just always be in your personal two-handed form. And uh, in the verses 46 to 45, uh, Arjuna, so Krishna as Raso Vaishya. Raso Vaishya means Krishna is Rasraj. He is embodiment of all affectionate relationship, loving, relishing, transcendental sweetness. So God is a person who is full of character, who is full of color and bliss. He knows how to have a good time, and and is much more interested uh, in relishing the sweetness. And we can see in different Bal Leelas of Krishna about that, rather than ritualistic worship. So, so in this chapter, we can see that Krishna instructs Arjuna that give me your unalloyed attention, and I will be personally dealing with you. So, so if we give unalloyed attention by doing things which will give pleasure, anand to Krishna, like chanting the holy name Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, or visiting uh, or some places where Krishna has done their his pastimes, we create a personal bonding with Krishna, and that is the subject matter of this particular chapter. With that, we move on to the next chapter, which is chapter 12, and the last chapter for today's discussion. This is actually the uh, shortest chapter in Bhagavad Gita, and it contains the essential wisdom that warms the heart, the stages one may go through to achieve it, to do some sort of a service for Krishna, and the qualities of devotees who have perfected it. So what are those qualities? Krishna also mentions in this chapter about them, about those qualities, not about them. So God essentially means the supreme controller, or Bhagavan. But in this chapter, we gain insight into the more cherished aspects of God's the disposition of the devotee who is in fully in love with Krishna. So Krishna in sloka 2, that mai avishya manahi mam nitta upasate. Somebody who has fixed his mind on my personal form, then Krishna starts interacting with that person. And if we break it down into different verses, we see that uh, in verses 1 to 7, Krishna picks up the discussion of impersonal nature, which was a question by Arjuna, and he says like that the essence of our is to be happy. Anya avilashita sunyam. But anya avilashita, but what avilasha we should do? Anandamaya bhashvat. We want to happy. Everybody wants to be happy. For a relationship to exist, there must be a subject, a object, and a reciprocity. But the impersonal notion kills all three. So Krishna explains that the personal nature of Krishna is more fulfilling, though it might be long term. So here we can see in the next set of verses, Krishna, verses 8 to 12, Krishna demonstrates his magnanimity and understanding. He goes to offer various options, recognizing that some might find it difficult in a particular way to approach him. Progressive steps towards reaching him includes practice of regulated spirituality, mm, worship through one's daily work. It's called Jukta Vairagya. We are doing daily work. We are going to office. We are, but we are earning money, but we are raising a Krishna conscious family or a conscious family. We are higher consciousness, or we are cultivating knowledge in these mechanisms. And the from verses 13 to 20 embarks a spiritual journey to develop saintly qualities. So Krishna mentions that the quality of a saint as per Krishna, a sadhu as per Krishna, which all of us can attain, is of what are those qualities? Tolerance. Trinadapi sunichena. Tolerance. Somebody tells you something where you are going for an important job, important work, and you get distracted, your complete focus is gone. Tolerate for a very short duration. After 5-10 minutes, you are still come back, get your focus back. He talks about determination. He talks about what satisfies us and the purity of our consciousness. So that is how he mentions here that in verse number 20, Vyetu dharma amritam idam. If somebody follows as he has instructed till now, it will be, that path will be like amrit, very sweet, like nectar. The journey will be nectarian. So with that, we are concluding for today, and we exactly have 5 minutes to complete Kahoot quiz. So can we have the quiz, please? And like every day, after the quiz, I am here. If anybody have questions, I can try to answer that. But we'll stop the recording after the quiz. So the link has come in the chat window as well as in your WhatsApp group as well as the chat window here. Please join quickly. So we'll start in about 60 seconds. So we have daily winners. Last time, Mr. Rahul was the winner. So there are 33 souls on the call today, but we have only 22 in Kahoot. Please join quickly. We want to be on time. Okay, last few seconds. I think we should start now. Yeah. Okay, I have now. Okay, yeah. So I have now unmuted all of you. You can raise your hand and ask your query. First, raise your hand, and then you can ask a question. If you have a question or if you have a comment, anybody? If you have any doubt, we are seeing all across. Yes, Jashri Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Sadar Pranam. I have
Hare
a
Krishna.
question, like it's my personal thing. How do I
Yes, please.
control my mind? Like at times it wanders here and there. And
Hmm.
while I doing my prayers or I'm doing chanting, it is very
Hmm.
difficult to bring it back in the place again. Again to start. Just to know,
Hmm.
like, how can I do it? Like, get rid of my thoughts which is coming in my mind and solely concentrate on the practice.
Okay, very good question. So, uh, Krishna, sorry, Arjun Arjuna was smart enough to kind of ask this question to Krishna, hmm, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that sorry, Arjun asked that question, ki chanchala hi mana Krishna. So my mind is restless. What should I do? Right. So Krishna mentions that we should give it a regime of practicing. It is restless because uh, it is it has forgotten its relationship with the eternal truth, that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, and that's why our desires, this is all that I'm mentioning are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 and 8, and that's why our desires are agitating our senses, and our senses are giving all these nonsense proposals to our mind, and our mind is going into our memory seeking past experiences of those proposals, whether it was good, bad, or ugly. If it is void, that means somebody has not done a certain thing. Let's say I have never been to an aircraft, right? And there is something, some proposal comes to my mind, so it's void. It's there's just no information of my personal experience. Then there are two ways, and that is what it was mentioned, that the hierarchy is either from top to down or bottom to up. So spiritual knowledge is by authority. It is not that if I am not gone to Japan, the country of Japan does not exist, because I can trust somebody who went to Japan and wrote a book about it. I can trust their experience, and based on that experience, I don't need to waste my time. And this is the exact reason many people read somebody's biography biography to learn from their mistakes, or maybe for to learn from their lives and get inspired, right? So this is a short answer to a very important aspect. um, we can actually, after this session, that means after this series, we will put some polls in terms of how all of you would like to continue, if you would like to continue such sessions, and we can dive into some of these topics which are of will be of interest to everyone. But this is a very important topic. So um, so this is the like a short answer, but for a more detailed one, we have to wait for one of those sessions. Okay, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, anybody else? You can raise your hand and ask your question or comment. Anything that you felt we should have covered, not covered, or anything that you have a you want to pick out. Okay, so we are running out of time. We are bhakti practitioners. Generally, I get up around 4:30 in the morning. So I'll give myself a break for a day for the day, and we'll end here by doing a prayer to Krishna for blessing all of us. If you know the prayer, you can repeat with me. Vancha kalpataruvasya kripa patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. All glories to everyone. Thank you very much.